It's movie night here at Television Gaming headquarters, aka my apartment, but we're not going to be watching any ordinary film. Rather, we'll be looking at a movie that has been described or self-proclaimed as the world's first interactive movie. It's I'm Your Man on today's face-punching episode of the CBS Late Movie.
Hello, everyone. What you are about to see is completely different from any cinematic experience you've ever had. And I'm here to tell you all about it. Follow me, won't you?
Since the dawn of motion pictures, studios have always been looking for ways to enhance the movie-watching experience. But in the 50s, as the popularity and affordability of home television sets grew, so did the movie theater gimmicks, in both quantity and craziness, as a way of keeping attendance healthy in the face of new competition. As time progressed, the theater gimmicks dwindled. However, by the 90s, CD-ROM technology emerged as a viable and affordable way to add a new level of interactivity. It promised to merge the gap between simply watching a movie and actually being able to control the outcome of a movie.
Pretend it's a game. Maybe it'll even be fun. Shoot the tubes, dog meat!
Yeah, that. Two men, Bob Bejan and Bill Frauensblau, took notice and had an idea of combining the movie theater experiences of old with this cutting-edge interactive technology. With that goal in mind, the two formed Interfilm Technologies and began work on their first release, I'm Your Man. With a screenplay by Bob Bejan and future founders of the state, including Ben Garant and Michael Ian Black, and music by Joe Jackson, I'm Your Man was filmed rather hastily over 6 days in 1992 in and around Interfilm's studios with a budget of between $200,000 and $320,000, depending on your source. For the three lead characters, they cast Colleen Quinn, MTV's Kevin Seal,
and that's not all.
and Animal House's Mark Metcalf.
What is that? A twisted sister pin on your uniform?
Also on hand was A. Whitney Brown in an introductory segment explaining the voting process to the audience.
Every time you switch to another character, the tabulation returns to 0. So if you want to watch someone else, vote right away.
There was initially much interest amongst theaters for this new venture, but it was Lowe's 19th Street Cinema in New York City that received the prototype equipment retrofitting, at a cost of around $70,000. Seats were outfitted with 3 buttoned pistol grips to allow voting at various points during the film. The movie itself was played off of a Laserdisc to allow near-seamless transitions between the various scenes, much like had been done almost a decade earlier with the Don Bluth animated arcade game Dragon's Lair. For $3, patrons could stay for as many viewings of the 20-minute film as they wanted. At the beginning, the audience was able to switch between the 3 introductory scenes of the main characters, after which the currently selected actor would address the screen and ask them to vote on which one of them they'd like to follow into the party.
Oh, this could be great, right? I mean, right? Well, you've had a chance to scope out your options, and now it's time for you to make your move.
Regardless of that choice, the plot is unchanged. Jack, the quirky Casanova wannabe, attends a trendy art exhibit party and runs into Leslie, who's only there to hand over evidence against corrupt corporate executive Richard to an unknown FBI agent, who will identify himself with the code phrase, I'm Your Man. Richard is there trying to stop Leslie, while Jack gets mistaken for the agent after he unwittingly utters the title of the movie.
I'm Your Man.
Good cover. Let's get out of here.
Cursive.
And hilarity ensues. To be blunt, the script doesn't contain anything in the way of clever dialogue or engaging scenarios.
Tell me where they went. You need me to not flip this switch, which will lock the doors to the theater and begin a 24-hour Menudo music marathon.
It's like a bad episode of Three's Company, except with the unwelcome addition of cartoonish sound effects, boring, bland sets, and weird camera angles.
Who are you talking to? You chose the bad guy?
God, I feel like a mushroom. Always in the dark, people throwing crap on me. Work with me.
I'm Your Man is more corny than campy, but it's easy to dismiss the low quality as being more of a quick demonstration of the technology rather than a serious contender for Film of the Year. And even though initial reports indicated that audiences, especially teenagers, had a great time getting into the voting process, it's easy to see some overall problems. Not that that matters much for this movie, but were the voting system applied to a more serious effort, with attempts made to establish characters and mood, the interruption of waiting for votes would rather jarringly yank the audience out of the story. Also of concern were those who would vote more than once by pressing the buttons on empty seats. And finally, at least with this film, the viewer's influence over the story is severely limited. All the choices are mere detours, all leading to the same destination, and no matter what path is taken, the ending is determined by a final vote of the three options presented, regardless of any earlier decisions.
Not quite.
What's left?
The ending! Like the one I won, for starters.
Come on, indulge me.
Hello there.
Nonetheless, the experiment proved successful, and by 1994, the technology was brought to 40 more theaters nationwide. Meanwhile, Interfilm Technologies went public and began work on two more films, Ride for Your Life with Adam West and Matthew Lillard, and Baumeister with Jeffrey Jones. Based only on what I've seen in the trailers contained on the disc, it would seem production values were still taking a backseat to literally everything else. Meanwhile, Bob Gale, co-writer and co-producer of the Back to the Future series, would get in on the interactive cinema game as well with 1995's Mr. Payback. None of the offerings in this genre of choose-your-own-adventure cinema were well received by critics, and the gimmick it was desperately clinging to was quickly being met with disinterest, especially since there were bigger and better forms of entertainment on the horizon, particularly this little thing called the World Wide Web. By the spring of 1995, Interfilm Technologies would be no more. That would probably have been the end for interactive movies were it not for the success of the DVD format in the late 90s. Much like Laserdiscs, DVDs had the ability to jump between scenes instantaneously with the added benefit of wide consumer adoption. A company known as Zuma/DVD International would give a second life to I'm Your Man under their Choice Point film banner. The theater experience is more or less replicated, except the choices are made with your remote control. The other two Interfilm titles, Ride for Your Life and Baumeister, were also advertised in the package as coming soon, but as of this episode, they were never released.
Night, folks. Sorry to have bothered you.
So, I guess everything turned out okay, huh?
Great. See ya.
Barely a movie, barely a game, I'm Your Man serves as a nice reminder of this short-lived foray into audience-controlled storytelling and little else. If you see it on a shelf for a couple of bucks, by all means, bring it home. The novelty is fun for an afternoon. But beyond that, unless you're a Kevin Seal fanatic, I don't see it getting much of a workout in your DVD player. Anyway, this was Dave for TV Games. Please remember to subscribe, like, and/or comment. It does wonders for my self-esteem. Anyway, I'll see you next time.
I'm gonna miss Chuck Woolery on Scrabble. I don't want to do that.